Family, 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 family. Welcome to the Practical Purpose Podcast. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Let me know if we're on good. If you can hear me, if you can see me, holler at me in the chat. It's been a minute, right? It's been about a month since we've been on the show. And we've been talking in a series called Begin Again, right? We've been in a series called Begin Again. And the purpose of that series was to allow you to see that you don't always have to start something new. You don't always have to start something fresh. Oftentimes, you just have to be in that process of beginning again. And we're going to continue that. We're going to continue talking about beginning again, right? And so, if you're ready for that, we're going to explore goals today because the difference may be in your life between where you want to be and where you are now could be how you're creating your goals, right? It could be the absence of goals in your life, right? And so we're going to begin today talking about goals. Somebody said what's on my hoodie is Black History Matters. It's Black History Month. And so I try at work, I try to make sure I wear something every Friday that highlights someone um, in the area of Black history for our kids. Right. So that's what it says. It's not a Black Lives Matter shirt. It's Black History Matters. All right, so we're talking about goals today. In the first part of our series, we talked about beginning again, right? We talked about the fact that I didn't lie to you. I told you that when you got to church on that watch night service after you jumped over all the pews and all of that, and you had the pep rally, that the preacher was going to tell you that God is doing a new thing, right? And I didn't lie to you. I didn't lie to you. I watched some services and they said that, right? But we established here on the Practical Purpose Podcast that God is not doing a new thing. Nothing changes in your life until you change, right? And today we're going to look at the fact that nothing changes in your life until your goals change, right? Until your focus areas change, right? It's not about God doing a new thing. Matter of fact, in that text, that's a messianic promise, right? It's in Isaiah. It's a messianic promise. He's talking about doing a new thing through a Messiah for Israel. He's not talking about doing a new thing in your life. You have to make some adjustments in your life if you plan on reaching the goals that you have set, right? And that's what we're going to talk about. We talked about that in the first episode, and then we talked about purpose, right? We talked about the mere fact that oftentimes we live our entire lives not understanding our purpose. We talked about the fact that we live our entire lives not knowing our purpose, right? And so many of us do not know what our purpose is in specific areas of our lives. Right. And I challenge you to look at your roles, look at your titles, look at your responsibilities, and that will push you towards your purpose. Right. We established that on the last show. We talked about that you begin everything in your life. If you want to be efficient and effective, you begin it with your purpose. Right? If you know your purpose, if you know where you're trying to go, if you know the driving force behind getting there, then you are well on your way. You're on a trajectory towards success. But it's sad that so many of us live our lives and we never consider our purpose. We said that your purpose is the mere fact that you were put on earth to accomplish something that only you can accomplish. Let me say that again. You were put on earth to accomplish something that only you can accomplish, right? And so if you understand and believe that you are here to accomplish something that only you can accomplish, then it becomes your responsibility to put goals in place, to put plans, to put actions, to put strategy in place to accomplish that purpose. All right. So today, what we're talking about is we're going to that next step, right? We talked about beginning again. We talked about purpose. Now we're talking about the next step, which is goals. See, so often we start with goals, but you should never start with goals. You have to start with purpose. And you have to start with destination. So we're talking about goals today. If you're ready, put something in the chat. Let me know you're ready. I see my brother Reynard here. Listen, this brother's powerful too. This brother's a powerful speaker, powerful leader. Listen, we're here. Let me know you're ready. We're talking about goals. So the title today is SMART Goals with some question marks. My brother, SMART Goals. All right, because we hear that. And if you're in academia in any way, you have heard of SMART goals. So we're going to talk about SMART goals. We're going to talk about what SMART goals are. We're going to talk about what they aren't, right? But SMART goals is going to be a means and a mechanism by which you can possibly frame your goals to help you put a plan and a strategy in your life to reach success. Listen, if you don't have a strategy, you're already failing. If you don't have a strategy, you're already failing. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself, but if you don't have a strategy, you're already in trouble. You're already in trouble. You've got to begin with a strategy. You got to know what your strategy is for success. So let's talk about goals. What are goals? What are goals? Let me define goals for you. And this is Dr. Williams' definition. This is not Webster's definition. Goals are incremental measures of ultimate progress. Let me say that again. Goals are incremental measures of ultimate progress. What does that mean? The key word there is incremental. I put out a video maybe 2 weeks ago, and I talked about the fact that small steps are still steps. And so often we get into leaps and bounds, and we want to go from A to Z, and we don't celebrate A to B, right? Goals are incremental. Right? We live in a society now that wants everything to be microwavable, right? And goals are not that. Goals are incremental. You take small steps every day towards what it is you want to become. So, what is the definition? Goals are incremental measures of ultimate progress, right? You cannot progress. You cannot monitor your progress if you don't have goals. The only way to measure your progress is to set goals. Listen, we're going in today. We're going in because what is going to allow you to see and know is that I could be a lot further along had I been setting goals, right? Had I been setting the right goals. Because listen, oftentimes we're setting goals, but we're not setting the right goals, right? And we're going to get to that. And then oftentimes by not setting goals, we are setting goals. Listen, and so you have to understand, and I want you to get this today, that you have to be in a constant state of analyzing your goals. Listen, I'm in a mastermind group with my brother here, Cheese, Chris Brown, and Wilmot Berry, and we look at our goals on a regular basis. We talk about our goals on a regular basis. I have my goals on screenshotted on my phone. I look at them every day. Right. I look at my goals. Why? Because I want the decisions. We said this daily decisions determine your destiny. Right. And I want my daily decisions to be aligned with where I'm trying to go. So if my daily decisions are aligned with my destiny or with my goals, I'm going to get to where I'm trying to go. Pecan Tan says, Confucius said, the man who moves mountains begins by carrying away small stones. That's good. That's good. It reminds me of one of my favorite movies. Y'all gonna make me go off on a tangent. One of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. That's one of my favorite. Anybody who knows me, that really know me, know that's one of my favorite movies. And in the movie, my man is chipping away, building a tunnel to escape from prison. And it takes him years to escape. But every day he's chipping away at the stones, putting them in his pockets. And while he's walking the yard in prison, he's releasing the stones out of the bottom of his pants, right? And eventually he builds a tunnel, but he couldn't build a tunnel all at the same time. He had to chip away at the wall to build the tunnel. right? And so small steps are steps. Goals are incremental measures of ultimate progress. Goals are incremental measures of ultimate progress. Listen, I'm going to say this again for you. Your life won't change until your goals change. Your life won't change until your goals change. You have to be in a constant state of reevaluating your goals. Listen, and sometimes we get caught up in this whole this new year thing, right? And so I have my 2023 goals, and I think I can't change them until 2024. No, you have to be in a constant state of reevaluating your goals. Listen, COVID taught us that, right? So if you're in an organization that had a 2, 3, 4 year plan, it got altered by COVID. And if you're a good organization, if you're led well, you went back to your goals for that 2 or 3 year span, and you adjusted them to be able to deal with the circumstances. And so when we set goals in our lives, oftentimes we think I can only do it on January 1st, right? But you set goals and you reevaluate your goals as life happens, right? And we're going to talk about that when we start analyzing what a SMART goal really is, right? You have to be in a constant state of examining your goals. Listen, your life depends. That means this is a life or death thing. It's that serious. This is the quality of your life. Your life depends on the goal you set and fail to set. Your life depends on the goals you set and fail to set. Listen, you are the quality of your goals. You are as deep as your goals go. You are as successful as you are accomplishing the right goals. You are where you are right now because of the goals you have and have not set. Mm. I think there's a lot of things that really determine our success in life, right? There's a lot of things that determine, but there's three things I think that are really key. One of them is how you manage your time, right? The way you manage your time is going to determine what you become in time. We said that before, right? What you do with your time determines what you become in time, right? Another thing is how you set goals. You are where you are in your life right now because of the goals that you have set or failed to set, right? So my goals, we're going to get to this, but my goals are linked to my ability to manage my time. We said that time is life. If you go back to the time management podcast that we did, we said that time is not money, time is life. When I give you my time, I'm giving you my life, right? And so if my life or my time is aligned with my goals, that can be very good or that can be very bad, right? Some people make a living and other people decide life. This is directly correlated with your goals. Some people make a living and other people decide life. Listen, you have to be a leader. If you're not leading your family, if you're not leading your organization, you've got to be leading yourself. And in any capacity that you lead, if you do not have goals, you're not leading well. If you do not have goals, you're not leading well. Whether or not you're leading yourself, leading your family, whatever you're leading, you've got to have some goals in place. Great leaders have goals, right? Great leaders not only have goals, but they have action steps tied to their goals. We're going to get to that. Great leaders have goals, my brother. All right. So some people make a living and others decide their life. You have the power to change your life based on the goals that you set. You can change your life based on the goals that you set. Listen, here's a harsh reality. You become exactly what you decided. You become exactly what you decided. Listen, if you decide I'm not getting up early tomorrow, right? You accomplish that goal of not getting up early, right? You become exactly what you decide you want to become. All right. And so goals, time, and our life are all linked together. Great leaders, Chris Brown says, great leaders have goals. Great leaders have goals. And Chris, we often think of leaders. When we start thinking of leaders, it's Black History Month, right? We talk about Martin Luther King. We think about President Obama. We think about Bill Gates. We think about all of these people. But you have to be a leader, if not only for everybody else, you've got to be a leader of yourself. You can't accomplish anything if you can't lead yourself. John C. Maxwell says it like this. He says, it's easy for me to lead you because I know how to lead me. Right? The problem with us is that we don't lead ourselves. Britt, listen, we're not leading ourselves. We're not accomplishing anything in our life because we're not leading ourselves. That's my wife right there. Boo. You got to lead yourself. All right. You got to lead yourself. So the source of your goals, because I want to get off on a tangent. The source of your goals has got to be the destination. The source of your goal has got to be the destination. Where do I want to end up? Where do I want to end up? You got to start there. In academia, in academic settings, we call that backwards design, right? Backwards design means I start at the end where I want to be, and I backtrack to where I'm starting, right? I start at the end first. What is the end result of what it is I'm trying to accomplish? I start there, and then I look at, if I want to get there, these are the goals that I need along the way. Progress monitoring, putting the action plan in place in order to get there. All right. And so you got to start with the destination. Wrong goals lead to wrong destinations. Well, I said this on the last podcast, that goes along with wrong goals lead to wrong destinations. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right? If you do not know where you're going, any road is going to get you there. You have to start off knowing where you want to end up. The expected end. PK Tan says the expected end. Right? She got that from where you got that from, PK Tan? Jeremiah 29:11, right? I know the plans that I have for you, says God. A plan to prosper you and to get you to an expected end, right? Right? I'm not getting off on that right now. I see what you're trying to do, though. Listen, the expected end, right? You have to understand that if I don't know where I'm going, any direction to get me there, right? So the problem, and if you looked in the graphic on the thumbnail that I put up for this, the problem is we're aiming at nothing and we're hitting it every time. Let me say that again. We are aiming at nothing and we're hitting it every time. A goal gives you something to aim at, right? A goal gives you something to aim at, right? And the problem is you're living your life haphazardly. You're living your life in a wilderness 40 years because you don't have a goal. And you're going in circles, right? You're trying to figure out, why am I in 2023 the same place I was in 2021? Could it be that you never created goals? Or could it be that wrong goals get you to wrong destinations? And sometimes the destination that's wrong is the place that you are when you created the goal. You got to be looking to progress. My brother Ali says, leader in me, begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Listen, that's backwards design. The scripture even says it. The scripture confirms it. The scripture says that God knows the end from the beginning, right? He knew what he wanted to accomplish on the earth before, actually before the beginning, because he's outside of time, right? You have to begin with the end in mind, right? You have to create goals that are based on your progression towards a destination. We're moving on. We're moving on. I'm sorry. We're moving on. So the source of your goal is the destination. The source of your goal is the destination. The destination determines the design and the nature of your goals. If you're trying to get somewhere, right? For example, I live in Elgin, South Carolina. I live in Elgin, South Carolina, right? And if I want to get to Sand Hills, right? My plan to get to Sand Hills is not going to involve a bicycle because it's going to take too long to get there. So the nature and the design of my goals is determined by where I want to end up. Does that make sense? Are y'all tracking with me? The nature and design of my goals are going to be determined by where I want to end. And so my plans that come along with my goals have to involve realism. We're going to get to that. It has to be relevant. It has to be relevant. James says, ego goals, right? We got ego goals. You get me ahead of myself. Oftentimes we start setting goals in our lives based off of people that we see. We start setting goals in our life based off people that we see. Oh, my homegirl getting married in 2024. I think it's time for me. That might not be for you. That's an ego goal, right? Ego goal really ego really deals with yourself, right? But an ego goal deals with your perception or other folks' perception of you, right? So when I have an ego goal, what I'm doing is I want to look good to other people instead of being concerned with the destination that God has planned for me to get to. He says, stay away from ego goals. Grimes, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Grimes. Begin with the end in mind. That's backwards design. Y'all own it. Y'all own it tonight. All right. And so the destination determines the design and the nature of my goals. My goals have to be relevant to where I'm going, or else I'm going to be achieving goals that don't have that expected end that PK and Tan talked about. Right? The end won't be the end that I want it to be if I'm not making sure that my goals are aligned. Yeah, that hurt. All right. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about do not only do I have goals, do I have the right goals? We're going to get to that when we talk about Nehemiah, but do I have the right goals? Because the wrong goals are taking me to the wrong places. The wrong goals are taking me to the wrong places. So let's look at SMART goals. Let's look at SMART goals. I don't have a long time left. Let's look at SMART goals. If you're in academia, you know what SMART goals mean. You know what it stands for. All right. So SMART goals, let me say this first. SMART goals are not necessarily just a prescription. SMART goals is an outline of how you can create a goal. It's kind of like the Lord's Prayer, right? It wasn't intended for us to say verbatim, although we do it before basketball games, football games, sporting events, things like that. If you're on a team, you say the Lord's Prayer. It was used as a model. Jesus was giving it to them as a model of how to pray. Right. So SMART goals is just like that. It's a model. It doesn't mean that you have to do it or not do it. But let's break down what SMART goals are. The S is what? Specific. How specific are your goals? Right. If you've got some broad goals that are not specific, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're aiming at nothing and you're hitting it every time. Right? You cannot be intentional if you're not specific. Intentionality can only come where there's specificity, right? You cannot be intentional if you're not specific. We throw around the term intentional all the time, intentionality all the time. We say that all the time, but if you don't have specificity, you can't be intentional. Right? You cannot be intentional. You're going to be so broad that you're going to be good at a lot of things and you're not going to be great at anything. And the goal, oftentimes in the society we live in, is multitasking. It's multitasking, right? But here on the Practical Purpose Podcast, we know that we have a Christian background, a Christian basis, Christian foundation, right? So if you understand scripture, if you understand, God typically gave people task or a specific goal to accomplish. And the problem with us is sometimes we don't have goals, other times we have the wrong goals, and oftentimes we've got too many goals. We've got too many. You've got to be specific. SMART goals, the template is a guide. It's just like the Lord's Prayer. It's a guide. I'm not saying it's wrong to say our Father who art in heaven. I'm not saying it's wrong to say it. What I'm saying is Jesus gave it as a guide. Right? There's some concepts that we're not teaching on today, but there's some concepts in the Lord's Prayer that he's trying to bring out. Right? It's not the words that he's saying. Right? It's a guide. It's a guide. Jacqueline Wallace. That's a word right there. Specific and intentional. I think that's it. I think that's it for tonight. You can't have intentionality without specificity. You've got to know what it is that you're trying to accomplish. It's got to be specific. It's got to be specific. All right. So the S in SMART goals is for specific. The goals you create have to be specific. Like I was working with someone on goals. This was maybe 2 years ago, and they had a goal. I want to read more books. You got to be specific, right? Because what is more? Is it more than you read last year? Is it more than you have to be specific. And see, when you're creating your goals, I'm gonna get to this. You take a macro concept and you make it micro, right? I have to be specific about what it is that I'm doing. Listen, and you do it in certain areas of your life because nobody says, hey, I want to lose weight. When they're writing that goal down, oh, they're specific. I want to lose 25, 40, 100 pounds. That's specificity, right? You can't be intentional in doing anything if you're not specific. Pecan 10 says specific, simple, sensible, and significant. I like that. Simple, sensible, and significant. Listen, the M in SMART is measurable. Measurable. Are your goals measurable? Can you measure them? Right? I'm gonna read more books. More than what? I'm gonna read my Bible more. I'm gonna read other things more. More than what? You have to be measurable. And here's the issue. There are organizations that don't get this. There are organizations that set goals that are not measurable. Listen, it goes back to that same phrase, that same concept that I've said before. If you're aiming at nothing and you're hitting it every time if you can't measure success. You can't measure growth. How are you measuring it? If you say I want to become better at shooting layups, I need percentages. I'm going to go from making 5 layups, 50% to making 80% of my layups. I've got to measure it. The only way that I can tell if I'm progressing is if I'm measuring it. All right, your goals have to be measurable. OG, SMART goals have me set up for 2023. This is my guy, man. This is my guy. This is like a mentee. But it's not just him learning from me. I'm learning a lot from him. This is my guy. I call him OG. His word for the year is execute. We ain't gonna talk about executing today. But your goals have to be measurable. All right. Your goals have to be measurable. And again, we have big organizations that don't have measurable goals. And so they're not really progressing. And if they are, they don't know if they're really progressing, right? Because they don't have anything to measure it against. So anytime you're setting goals, if you want to be intentional about reaching your goals or reaching a destination, not only do you need specificity, but you need it to be measurable. You need to be able to measure your progress. If you say you're going to lose weight, You need to jump on the scale every now and then. You need to figure out how your clothes are fitting. You need to be able to measure it, right? Your goals must be measurable. PK and 10 says measurable. How can you track the progress? You can't track the progress if it's not measurable. You can guess, you can estimate, you can hypothesize, you can be Bill Nye the science guy, but you got to be able to measure. You got to be able to measure. Are y'all tracking? The third thing is specific, measurable. The A is attainable. Attainable. You got to have a goal that you can actually reach, right? You got to set goals that you can actually reach, right? It's not enough just to be confident in your goal, right? It's not enough just to be confident in your ability. Listen, I heard Miles Monroe say this. He says, if you think you can do it, that's confidence. If you do it, that's competence. If you think you can do it, that's confidence. That's good. But companies, organizations, business owners, they don't just look for confident people. They look for competent people, right? So not only do you think you can do it, but you have to execute it, right? If you do it, it's competence. You have to set goals that are attainable. You got to set goals that's attainable. It's like this goal. I watch a lot of sports. I love NFL. I love the NFL. I don't like the Cowboys. I love the NFL. And you cannot tell me that every team's goal is to win the Super Bowl every year. It's simply not attainable for every team, right? Now, what are you playing? You playing to win, but we all know these players, they get on, they say, hey, if we didn't win the Super Bowl, it's a lost season. No, it's not, because you knew before the season started that your team wasn't good enough to win the Super Bowl. So you create a goal that's attainable. When I was coaching basketball, listen, we wanted to win every game, but I did not make winning the goal every game, right? Because some games I knew we'll win if we out rebound this team. So the goal is not to win. The goal is to get more rebounds than that team. Defensive rebounds, right? And so you set attainable goals, goals that you can measure. You can't just be confident. You've got to be able to reach the goals that you're setting. You got to be competent. And the problem when you start thinking about organizational leadership, right? The problem with big organizations is they have goals that look good on paper, that sound good in press conferences, that sound good in meetings, but they're not attainable. They're not attainable. And so then what you end up doing is making excuses for why you didn't reach an unattainable goal. While it says if you think you can do it, that's confidence. There, that's what I said. If you do it, that's competence. Right, right. You if your goals, hear what I said, because I thought that was good. If your goals are not attainable, then you end up making excuses for why you didn't reach an unattainable goal. That's a waste of time. You end up making excuses for why you didn't reach a goal that you didn't set correctly the first time. Or you said it correctly, but circumstances happened and you didn't reevaluate your goals. And see, that's the whole premise of this series, Beginning Again, is we always think we have to scratch everything or we have to wait till the beginning of the year to do something instead of reevaluating where we are. And once I reevaluate, I may tweak a goal here or there. Once I realize that goal was not attainable when I said it, let me tweak it to make it attainable. James Walker, my brother. However, we should stretch ourselves and maybe scare us. No guts, no glory. Yeah, I think you have attainable goals. And I think your goals sometimes have to stretch you, right? They have to get you to a place where you're operating outside of your comfort level to reach it, right? I agree with that. That's good. I agree with that. OG, a college football coach of mine used to yell, "Potential will get you fired." The lesson in it was that either you get it done or not. That's what this reminds me of. Yeah, that's true. Potential. Listen, we talked about this. We've said this a bunch of times. You take a seed and you put it on a kitchen table, and 50 years from now, it's going to still be there. It's untapped potential. But when you put it in the right environment and it's able to pull on the nutrients from its circumstances and environment, then you get the potential out of that seed, right? Potential is in everybody. But oftentimes we don't set the right goals to tap into the potential. And I said this before. Listen, goals without a plan is wasted potential. Goals without a plan is wasted potential. If you got a goal and not a plan, you wasting time. You may hit it. You may hit your goal, but you won't be efficient. You got to have potential. Excuses. Y'all talking tonight. Excuses are for the incompetent. Right. We don't make those. Growth is in the stretch. I like that. I like that. I ain't gonna get off. That's a good concept, though. I'm not gonna get off on that. All right, so we got SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable. Listen to the R. The R, if you research what a SMART goal is, you'll see is realistic. I like to use the term relevant, right? Because for me, realistic and attainable are pretty close. But I like to use the term relevant. Are your goals relevant to the destination? Are your goals relevant to the destination? All right. You can't set goals based off of where other people want you to be. You can't set goals in your life based off of what other people are doing, right? You set goals that are relevant to your purpose. See, that's why this all ties together. If you're setting goals that don't align with your purpose, your goals can easily be irrelevant. You set goals that align with your purpose, but you can't do that if you don't know what your purpose is. So we start with purpose, then we go to goals. Your goals must be relevant. Must be relevant. So we got specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and here's the last one: time bound. You got to give yourself some time, right? Oftentimes we say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. By when? By what date? All right. That's why it's okay to have yearly goals, 5 year, 10 year. It's okay to have those because you've got a date set for when you're going to get that goal accomplished by that time. Listen, but if you don't have any time constraints on your goal, then you will wander the wilderness just out there aiming at nothing and hitting it every time. You gotta have time bound goals. Listen, time bound goals separate dreamers from achievers. Time bound goals separate dreamers from achievers. There's nothing wrong with dreaming, right? But a dream without an action is not going to allow you to achieve your purpose. Listen, it's Black History Month. We remember what Martin Luther King said: I have a dream. But his dream meant so much and it was so powerful to everybody who heard it because we knew he was an achiever. He had a plan to reach that, right? He had a plan to get it done. And so often we're dreaming, but we're not achieving because we don't have a time-bound goal. I'm going to do this by this date. Right. When I write goals, and I'm not perfect in this, I'm definitely not perfect in this. If you talk to anybody on here that talks to me on a regular, we talk about goals. OG, Walker, Chris, we talk about goals. PK and Tan, we talk about goals, and I'm always learning about goals. But one thing that I've done with my yearly 2023 goals is I made it, taking it from a macro level to a micro level, and monthly, I have monthly targets that I'm trying to hit that will ensure that I reach the goal at the end of the year, right? So if my goal is to save X amount of dollars by December 31st, I break it down to, if I do that every month, then I don't have a problem reaching my goals. It's time bound, right? It's time bound. And that's what separates the dream from the achievement, right? I'm going to achieve my goals because I'm not just dreaming about it. I'm putting an action plan in place. Listen, SMART goals give us a format by which we establish our goals, but SMART goals are only good if you have a plan of action. They're only good if you've got a plan of action. SMART goals by themselves can have you wandering aimlessly in the wilderness. You might still hit some of your goals, but you won't be efficient and effective in doing it, right? So if you got SMART goals and no plans or bad plans, then your goals may be smart, but you might not be so much. You might not be so much. You can't reach your goals without action steps and plans. And that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode. We're going to talk about planning, right? But these SMART goals, that's why I put the question marks on the thumbnail about SMART goals, because SMART goals in isolation are not efficient and effective if they don't accompany a plan. So you got organizations who have SMART goals. You have leaders who have SMART goals, but they don't have a plan that's in alignment with the goal, and so they're not effective. Listen, I've been successful in hitting a lot of goals in the last 2 to 3 years. The goals that I didn't hit was because I actually didn't have a plan. I said, I'm gonna save this amount of money right here, but I didn't have a plan to do it. Listen, most of the time when you're setting goals and you're not reaching your goals, it's because you didn't have a plan to do so. You've got to have a step-by-step plan. Plan A, plan B, and sometimes plan C. And then you reevaluate your goals. Listen, once you get there, once you set these goals, I'm putting it in high gear now. Once you set these goals, you protect your goals. You protect your goals. Goals will make you safe. Why? Because when I'm living my life aligned with my goals and my time, people will threaten my goals by devaluing my time. People will threaten your goals by devaluing your time. And so you have to protect your goals, right? You have to protect your time. It makes you safe. If I'm making decisions based off of my goals, that I'm in a safe space, right? It's those decisions. See, if you got a goal to lose 25 pounds and you make decisions based off of that goal, you're not running the Krispy Kreme every time the hot sign hit. You're not, because you're going to make decisions that are going to keep you safely aligned with your goals. Goals require self-control, right? And self-control is where you found safety. Goals require self-control, and self-control will keep you safe. All right. All right. So here, y'all know how we do Practical Purpose Podcast. I gotta give it to you. We have a Christian basis, right? So I gotta give it to you in the Bible, so you won't think that I made this stuff up, right? So in the Bible, and I've only got a few more minutes. There's a man by the name of Nehemiah. He has his own book in the Old Testament, and Nehemiah has a goal to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Right? He has a goal. He has a goal to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. I'm gonna go through this quickly. I'm gonna paraphrase some of it. Listen, in Nehemiah 2:3-5, he says, "But I said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins?" The king said, "What is it you want? What is it you want?" Right? Got to start with a destination. Then I prayed to the God of heaven. I answered the king, "Send me to the city in Judah so that I can rebuild it." Right? So Nehemiah wants to rebuild the city. And he gives us 3 things here as we begin to consider evaluating our goals and evaluating our goals, our SMART goals, he gives us three things here to consider. Here's the first thing he gives us. He tells us that we need to seek wise counsel. Listen, when you get ready to set up your goals, when you get ready to evaluate your goals, when you get ready to reevaluate your goals, you have to seek wise counsel. He shows us that in the text. In Nehemiah 2:4, it says, "The king said to me, 'What is it you want?' Then I prayed to the God of heaven." Listen, the first thing that Nehemiah did was pray, right? God should be your first advisor. Let me say that again. God should be your first advisor. God should be your first advisor. Listen. I'm not saying that God should be your only advisor, but God should be your first advisor. Why? Because I want the best advisor to be my first one, right? Because he knows all, right? But here's the second point. God has placed people in your life to help you with your goals. Even the goals you don't want to be specific and talk to people about, there are people in your life here to help you with those goals. Listen, so the first thing he did, I know I got it in high gear now. The first thing he did is he sought wise counsel. He determined his destiny. I thought that was good. I thought the fact that the king asked him, "What is it that you want?" That's the first question to creating goals. What is it that you want? And he gave him a specific answer. He said, "I want to rebuild the city." If you read the whole chapter, I'm not going to read the whole chapter. He even gave him a time frame. He was time bound. He did it in 53 days, right? So he determined his destiny by answering the question, what it is he wants. Then he identified and established his goals, right? Your first advisor, as you seek wise counsel on your goals, it has to be God. If it's not God, you're already making a mistake. Right. So when you get ready to create your goals, you need to ask God, what is it that you want for me to do? Is this destination the destination you have for me? Right. And then he puts other people in place to help you reach it. Listen, if you're a father, a mother, a family person, God will put people in your life to help you reach the goals you have for your children. Right, you can't do it all by yourself. I've got a friend. I don't know if he's on or not, Thurman, and he has helped my son reach some of his athletic goals in a way that I couldn't have done it myself, or some other coach couldn't have done it. Right, and so not only did he seek wise counsel from God, right, but you've got to understand that there are people in your life that's there to help you. Right, I ain't preaching, boy. If you don't chill out. It's an Eagles fan right here. I know he nervous. He looking for a word though. He nervous for next week. Right. You there's people in your life that'll help you. That's the problem. That I know I got to speed it up. That's the problem with most of us. We don't want to talk to nobody. We don't know, we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want anybody to see our deficiencies. Right? We don't want anybody to know we're struggling in a certain area. You have to be vulnerable if people are going to be able to help you. The doctor can't give you no medicine if he don't know you're sick. Right? You've got to be vulnerable enough to say, I'm struggling in this area. I need some help. Now, does that mean you tell all your business to everybody? No, that would be foolish. Right? I'm in a mastermind with again, Cheese and Wilmot, and we talk about our goals, but in some areas we don't use specifics. Right. So they know I have some financial goals, but they've never asked me, okay, what exactly are your financial goals? Right. But they're there to help me reach them without knowing everything. You have to be willing to be vulnerable to people that you trust in order to reach your destination. Pigantan says in organizational psychology, we sometimes take it up a notch, making the goal smarter, elevate, and review. That's right. That's right. You sound like Beyonce with that elevate. Listen, God will place your name in the wind and they will help you and don't know why. Lord have mercy. Listen, I heard somebody say, people are talking about you in rooms that you've never been in. Listen, it's people in your life to help you. And oftentimes, here's the struggle part. Oftentimes, they don't have the same melanin in their skin as us. Oftentimes, they may not have the same religious background that you have. Oftentimes, they don't believe like you believe. But when you're about to have surgery, you want the best doctor. You don't care what God they believe in. We got to get off that. We so religious. I only talk to Christians. You crazy. You crazy. There are people in your life that's willing to help you that don't believe like you. We talked about that in the last episode. We talked about the fact that when Jesus told Peter, who was a fisherman, to throw his net out into the ocean, into the water, Jesus was the only one on the boat that wasn't a fisherman. Right? And so you've got to understand that there are people willing to help you reach your goals that don't look like you, don't talk like you, don't act like you, and don't think like you. All right. So the first thing we see with Nehemiah, man, y'all something else. First thing we see with Nehemiah is you have to get inspiration by seeking wise counsel. Here's the second thing: you have to assess the need. You've got to assess the need. Listen, Nehemiah 2, right down there, 11 through 16. I paraphrased it because it's long. In Nehemiah 2, 11 through 16, it says, I went to Jerusalem. After staying 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others to examine and assess the city and the wall. Listen, you've got to assess the need. If you don't have a need, you don't need a goal. If you don't have a need, you don't need a goal. Listen, goals are born out of deficiency. Let me say that again. Goals are born out of deficiency. Where there's a need, there should be a goal. Think about every area in your life. Where there's a need, there should be a goal. All right. So Nehemiah and Nehemiah 2, and I encourage you to go read the whole chapter on your own time. Nehemiah 2, 11 through 16, he goes out and he's assessing the situation. He's assessing the situation. Now, he knew what he needed to do, but in order for him to put a plan, that's where we're going next time. In order for him to put a strategy or action steps in place, he had to see what he was working with. He had to see exactly what he was working with. Listen, prioritize your goals. Prioritize your goals. Oftentimes, we put our hardest goals at the bottom of the list, put our easy goals at the top, and we never make it to the bottom. And so we're trying to accomplish the same goals every year, every quarter, every month, because we put the hardest ones at the bottom. Because somebody told us to do the easiest thing first. Prioritize your goals by level of importance in your life. Right? Organize your life by your goals. If you got to lose 30 pounds, don't go to Krispy Kreme. Don't even ride by. Don't ride by to see the hot sign. Organize your life by your goals. I'm not going here and I'm not going there because I've got this destination that I've got to get to. Organize your life by your goals. I'm wrapping it up. And the third thing that we see in the story of Nehemiah rebuilding the wall, in Nehemiah 2:17, he says this, then I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. Listen, get accountability and help. Seek wise counsel, assess the need, get accountability and help. You got to have an accountability partner, man. Like you got to have somebody that you can call or that can call you and say, yo, how you looking on this goal? How you doing with that goal? How you doing in this area of your life? Talk to me about how you your strategy for raising your children in this area. How are you going to differentiate between one of your children and the other child? Right? You got to get accountability and help. There are people willing to help you. Listen, the unwise attempt to accomplish goals alone. The unwise attempt to accomplish goals alone, even if it is goals that are personal, you need something from other people to reach it. Listen, I had a personal goal of getting a doctorate degree. But if my wife would not have allowed me to spend some Saturdays secluded to work, I would have never got there. Right? That was a personal goal, but I needed help getting there. Right? There are people in your life that are designed, they're strategically placed to help you get to where you want to go. Right? Whether or not they know your goal or not, there are people who have helped me in my life. I mentioned Thurman. He's helped me in great ways that he doesn't even understand just from being there. There are people who are strategically placed in your life to help you. Right? Right? I see PK and Ted saying something about the hot sign. Say, I ain't even gonna click on that one. I ain't even gonna click on that. My circle is the truth. While it says they encourage me and hold me accountable, even when I don't like it. See, that's the key. When you don't like it. When you don't like it. See, we live in a society now where you got to like and agree with everybody. No. And that's why we are in the state that we're in. I don't have to agree with you to be able to hold you accountable. I got to respect you. You got to respect me, but I don't have to agree with you. Listen, your circle is really going to tell you about who you are. Right? And then so sometimes it's not the circle too. Sometimes it's people that strategically place to open a door and you never see them again. Never talk to them again. There are people that are strategically placed to help you reach your goal. So Nehemiah in the story, I encourage you to go read it, Nehemiah chapter 2. He sought wise counsel. He assessed the need. And he didn't tell every single person what the goal was. He had a group that knew him, that knew everything about him, that he used to help him get there. Right? He didn't tell everybody the goal. He didn't tell everybody the specificity of the goal. Right? And we see that in the story of Joseph, right? You got to be careful who you tell the specifics of your goals to. Right? You got to be careful. All right. Now, because if you continue to read that story, what you'll find is as soon as he began the process of going towards his destination, immediately something came up to try to hinder him from getting there. And if you're not seeing any friction in your life with regard to your goals, you've got the wrong goals. If you're not seeing any friction in your life with regard to your goals, you've got the wrong goals. If they're just too easy for you to accomplish, you've got the wrong goals. There should be some opposition that comes along with you achieving your goals. I heard a pastor say this before. He said, if you never run into the devil, that's because y'all going in the same direction, right? And so if you are not seeing any type of pushback, any struggle, then your goal ain't right. There should be some struggle in reaching your goals. All right. So he sought wise counsel, he assessed the need, and he got accountability and help. All right. So here's your homework assignment. We done. Here's your homework assignment. I want you, it's February the 4th, right? We 1 month into the year. I want you to reevaluate your goals if you set them. Based off of the pretenses that we talked about, I want you to reevaluate your goals, right? Make sure they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, right? If you need help, you need to seek wise counsel, right? You need to assess a need. If you created a goal that doesn't help you solve a problem or doesn't help you reach, doesn't help you get rid of a need, doesn't help you solve that need, then you need to reevaluate your goals. If you hadn't set any goals yet, it ain't too late. It's never too late to set new goals. All right. But this is what I want you to do. This is going to be interesting. I really want you to do this homework assignment if you're listening. Um, I want you to set three types of goals. I want you to set goals that you have to achieve. Goals that you have to achieve. All right. Set goals you have to achieve. Then I want you to set some goals that you would like to achieve. You don't have to have them. If you don't have them, it's all right. All right. Those goals may be so goals that you will have to achieve, those are going to be things that are really critical in your life, right? They might be some spiritual goals, they might be some goals with your family, there might be some financial goals, but goals you would like to achieve may be something that is not life or death, right? But I'm gonna give myself a time frame to achieve this goal, right? And it may be listen, I would like to go on a vacation to Africa. I don't know, right? Make a goal. Put a time on it. That's something that you would like to achieve. See, because sometimes goals is a life or death thing, but oftentimes you get so anxious about your goals because you don't have any goals that would be interesting for you to achieve. Set some goals that you would like to achieve. And then lastly, set some goals that you are interested in. Right? That might be something crazy. Now I'm not bungee jumping or skydiving, but set a goal. Hey, in the next year, 2 years, I want to skydive one time. Right? Set some goals that you have to achieve. Set some goals, and I'll give you some examples in my life very quickly. So goals I have to achieve, I have some financial goals, I have some business goals, I have some goals about speaking and doing training with my business. I gotta achieve those, right? But then I have some vacation goals with my family. Those are goals I would like to achieve, right? I want to take my family on 2 vacations this year, 2 major vacations, right? I want to take my wife on 2 major vacations this year, right? So those are goals I would like to achieve. They all solve a issue in my life. Like being able to take my family on 2 vacations helps us build those memories together, right? Those shared experiences, right? But then goals that I'm interested in, man. There's some goals I'm interested in that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do them anytime soon, right? But there's some things that I want to be able to do. Let's say lifting weights, me and Cheese. Listen, hey, I want to hit that 315 5 times on the bench, right? I'm interested in. If I don't hit that, I'm good. But that's a goal I might be interested in. For some of you, that might be bungee jumping. For some of you, that might be skydiving, scuba diving, going on a cruise, something like that, right? But categorize your goals, prioritize your goals, and your homework is to set at least one that you have to achieve, that you would like to achieve, and that you're interested in. All right, I want you to do that for your homework. Holler at me if you need some help. But set those goals. All right. So tonight we talked about part 3, beginning again. We talked about the importance of setting your goals. Mike says 315. Let's go. He already can do that. Like he's just throwing shade right now. He can do that with his right hand. All right. So we talked this part 3. We talked about setting those SMART goals, right? Setting those SMART goals. But the key to it is this: if you got a goal that's smart, but you don't have a plan, all right, you're not really being intentional. And the specificity of your goal, you cannot be intentional if you're not specific about where you're trying to go. Listen, you got your homework assignment. I went a little too long, longer than I planned. It's Saturday. Do what you need to do. It's Dr. Williams. I appreciate y'all being on. Share the link. Anybody you know that needs some help with their goals, share this. PK 10 says she's gonna take a flight. Go ahead. First flight, take that flight. Do that. All right. Share this link out to people who you know, because there's people you know. There's people you work with that need this right here. There are people you're married to that need this right here. There are people that you're raising in your house that need to see this. All right, that need this practical way of applying goal setting to their life. It's Dr. Williams. We back on in a few weeks talking about plans, part 4, the final episode of the Begin Again series. It's Dr. Williams. Sign it off. Till next time. Be good.